Hello and welcome back to another episode of From Prison to the Streets. I'm Eric. I did 11 years in prison and I talk about prison stuff. Today I have a funny prison story for you. I'm actually talking about prison stuff. I'm out of the hospital, but I'm still sick. I'll give you guys a separate video updating you about that. But on to our funny story. Let's rewind that a little bit. Like and subscribe if you like the video and you want to see more content like this. Now, let's get into the video. So I was in El Dorado. There was this guy there. We're going to call him John. Not his real name. I don't know if all the events in this story are true. I know that some of them are true, but, I don't want to pick on the guy or, harass him verbally or bully him. But this is a funny story. John was young, naive, heavy-set, and he was kind of a target. He got picked on while he was in El Dorado. We were in the same cell house and the same pod. I didn't really hang out with the guy. We weren't friends or anything, but you live around the same people every day and you interact, you say, hi, how you doing, what's up, whatever. Now, in the same pod, there was a store man. If you don't know what a store man is, I can do a separate video on that, but basically, a store man is a guy who keeps food in his house, canteen, commissary items, and you can get food from him when it's not store day, and then when you're store day comes around, you pay him back what you borrowed plus interest. It's kind of like a loan in prison since commissary is money and money is commissary. It's hard to get green money in there sometimes. A store man kind of operates like a loan shark because in prison, commissary or canteen or store, as we call it, is currency. So, you borrow from him, you pay him back in a week. And if you don't pay back, you can find yourself in trouble. This particular store man had a reputation for being a killer. He had killed people since he'd been in prison, and he was also known for being a booty bandit. Whether or not he actually was a booty bandit, I don't really know, and it's not really my business, but that was kind of what people thought of him as. So this guy, John, goes to the store man, and he borrows $5.50 in Debbie cakes. Or at least that's what it ended up because he didn't pay the money back within a week or the time that was allotted. So he doesn't pay, and he doesn't pay, and he's at $5.50, and he's scared of this guy because he's young, naive, new to the prison system, and he's just scared in general. And he thinks that this store man is going to try to stab him. So to make a long story short, he goes to this store man and offers to perform sexual favors, not going to go into the details on that, to clear the debt. So this dude basically performed sexual favors for some Debbie cakes. So that was in El Dorado. He gets transferred out to Lansing. A few years later, I get transferred out to Lansing. And after I got there, I ended up on the same run as this guy, John. And my neighbor was JR. And JR and I would talk back and forth and so on. And one day he offered me some pens because I did calligraphy. And I said, these are really nice. Where'd you get them? And he said, I got them from that guy down the run named 3D. I said, who's 3D? And he describes him to me. And I said, oh, you mean 550? Because after this dude had performed these sexual favors to clear a $5.50 debt over some Debbie cakes, that's what he was known as in El Dorado. Everybody called him 550. You do some questionable stuff for $5.50 in Debbie cakes, that's going to follow you around. So I said, oh, I didn't know they were calling him 3D up here. They called him 550 in El Dorado. And JR kind of chuckled. He was like, why the hell do they call him 550? I said, well, I don't really want to, put dude's business out there or cause him any problems. But this is what happened. Do me a favor and keep it on the low because I really don't want the dude to get picked on up here. He's trying to reestablish himself and make a new name for himself. Because I don't really want anybody to have problems, even if I don't mess with you on a social basis, if I don't talk to you or if we're not friends, that doesn't mean I want your prison time to be rough. You know what I'm saying? So I said, just kind of keep it on the low, but this is what happened. And I told him about it, and he kind of laughed about it, and that was that. Now in Lansing, the cells have bars over the front of them, so they're pretty open. You can holler out of your cell down the run to some guy in his cell, and you can have a full-on conversation, and people often do. But when you do that, everybody is privy to your conversation, everybody knows what you're talking about. So right after JR and I have this conversation, I go back and sit on my bunk, and everything's quiet for maybe a minute or 2 minutes. And then all of a sudden, I hear JR holler out of his cell at the top of his voice, and he said, "Hey, 550. And then from down the run, you hear, "That was one time." And everyone on the run heard it. And just like that, dude's business was out there. And I hollered over at JR, and I said, "Man, why'd you do that, man, like that? Why'd you do it?" And JR's like, "Hey, man, he did it to himself. That's too funny. I can't keep that to myself." Even so, it didn't really affect the dude. People didn't know if it was true or if it really happened or whatever. And it didn't really make his time harder. But it was funny, his response, "Hey, 550. That was one time." Anyway, I just wanted to share a short video with you guys, kind of give you a little chuckle. That's my story about 550. I hope you liked the video. I hope to see you guys again very soon with more prison stories. I'm Eric. This has been another episode of From Prison to the Streets. I will see you all later. Right, they change. They